Okay, we're going to do another quick one on this live stream. I've had a quick tea break. Still got my tea there. Let's share screen. We're going to be hopefully adding a bit of mouse support. Let's give that a go. It shouldn't be too crazy to do. So for the concept for this, we want to go into our input. We're going to make a new class, call it mouse. This is basically just going to implement a mouse adapter. So let's say that it extends mouse adapter. Now we want to have like some private static int x and y basically. So private static int x, private static int y, the x and y coordinates. We also want kind of the button that's been pressed. So we'll say private static int button. Let's say -1 for now. So if it's not been pressed, it could be -1 for now. Then we want like what we would consider as the left button, middle button, and right button. So let's say public static final int left button equals, let's say 1. Then I want the same for middle button and right button. So let's change these out of it. Middle button, we'll say 2. And right button. And that can be 3. Right, so what else do we want? We want kind of an actual code for this to deal with. So we're going to give this a code of like 2. So we'll say public static final byte code equals 0x02. Go 2. Now we can say, well, hang on, have I pressed the mouse button? So what we're going to say is public. Well, actually, no. Yeah, we're not going to check for a mouse button press at this point. Suppose, where are we? Actually, no, because we can set the button at this point. We usually like a setter. So what we're going to do is every time we click a mouse button, we can set that button to be this start button, I suppose, wouldn't it? So in that case, we can do a void here instead of a boolean. We'll say mouse pressed. And it'll take in a mouse event. And all we'll say is button equals e.get button. Oh, I'll set it to the correct one. Now, when it's released, we want button to be set to -1. So same sort of concept. Mouse released, button is going to be equal to -1, literally. Yep. So with this one, right, is it? I've got too many spaces. Oh, got it pressed in. It's supposed to be released. There we go. So when it's pressed, it's that. When it's released, it's that. And we've got an extra space there for no reason. Right, okay. So we've got now the pressed and released. We want to do, whenever we move the mouse, we want to kind of grab the X and Y coordinates and set at the event and then set them to set the current X and Y coordinates. So we'll say public mouse moved, mouse event. Oh, got about void here. So here we're going to say X is equal to our event dot get X, and Y is going to be set equal to our event dot get Y. And that'll do for our setting of those things. Now, there's a few things we want to think about, maybe dragging the mouse. For that, we still want to do a similar thing as to the moved one. It just means that we've got the buttons held down at that point in time. So all we have to do is copy this, call this dragged. So instead of moved, call it dragged. Yeah, so if it's been dragged, it will be the same sort of concept. What else? We also now want to check whether the button's in a down position. So we'll say public static Boolean button down int button. So we're just checking against whether the current button is down that we're trying out. So what we'll say, we'll return if mouse dot button is equal to the supplied button. And then what we want to do is we want to be able to get X and get Y. So what I'll say is public static int get X will return X, and then public static int get Y will return Y. Sorry. Right, so that's an actual mouse class to actually deal with the actual mouse controls in general. Now, there's a few more interesting little things that we could do because I've gave that a code. Really, I want to keep it the same sort of thing with all of my inputs. So my keyboard can also have a code of some sort as well. So I need to put that in there somewhere. Probably just pop it up here. So I'll make a public static final byte code, and this one's the one that's a 1, isn't it? So we'll say that's going to be equal to 0x say 1. Right, so there's a few interesting things here. So we can kind of chain these together to have multiple inputs. We could have keyboard and mouse input if we like, or we could just have maybe keyboard input on its own. In theory, we could have mouse input on its own as well, but it's entirely however you want to kind of deal with that. Let's see. So that would kind of give us that sort of thing as such. Trying to think, we probably want to deal with the devices now. So I need to go into my display and set up my enable a little bit better because now we've got the mouse as well as keyboard. So if I go into my display, go down to my enable. So we've got if the device is equal to this. What I would like to do is a little bit different to that. I want to kind of say, basically, now that we've got the device, that needs to be ANDed against. Basically, we want to mask it off to make sure that we know what sort of device we're using. So we'll say, if my device masked with an AND against 0x1, yeah, is equal to 1, then we want to add the keyboard listener. Now, if we want to add both keyboard and mouse listeners, we could sort of add another if here and say if the device to the right by 1, so moved over to the right by 1, and that against 0x1 is equal to 1, then that means that we have the we'll decide that we're going to use both of them. Yeah, so that way we kind of get both of those possible things. So we can just copy the keyboard listener. And also say window dot add mouse listener. I suppose a mouse motion listener, let's say. Well, actually, no, you know what? Let's not add the keyboard and that. We'll just add only the mouse. We will only use mouse. Won't do both at the same time. I might add another one that can do multiple stuff, but for now, that will do for that. Mouse listener. And it's taking a new mouse. And then we'll add that. Then we want a window dot add mouse motion listener with a new. So yeah, we'll do it that way. So that way you can either choose, you're either having the keyboard used or the mouse used at that point. But we can always technically do another one where we're adding both or something at some point. But no, that's pretty fine. So there's a couple of things we could add. We could have like error logging systems and other stuff later on, but right now I'm not too fussed about that. I'd kind of like to add a few things in here, but I'll kind of figure out that as I go. Yeah, I think I'm going to add it into the core for now with the updated code. So did I actually add? Yeah, I've got keyboard being that. Instead of that, I want the keyboard to be literally keyboard dot code. And same again for mouse. So literally exactly the same thing. So it's going to be a mouse. And then we need to import the mouse. There we go. We've now got a keyboard and a mouse. So that's cool. So we could turn around and sort of like add like the mouse as a device as well if we want, you know, like to test out the inputs and stuff. I'm not really too fussed on that because I think that's something what we'll probably end up doing later anyway. Like I said, we could do, depending on time and stuff. I don't really want to do too much time on this because I do need to pop out to the shops. You know what? Just for the hell of it, let's. Yeah, I know I could actually add both. I can do it or against them, can't I? So what we can do here is in our main, I could turn around and just add the mouse as well. Where's the where am I adding the input? So if I want both, instead of having to make a new thing for that, I can just OR them together. Yeah, so that way we can't. I think we should be able to. Let's double check in case I've done something weird. I might need to change some stuff. Cast it to a byte. Set input. I know what I can do. I'm gonna based on that. That's making an integer, isn't it? A byte ORed against the byte is probably going to make an integer. So that means realistically, I need to be taking in an integer to the set input method. And that set input method is going to be inside the core. There's a core gone. So let's go for the set input method. Set input, right. I'm thinking instead of taking a byte, I'm going to take an int, and then we'll do the conversion here. So I'll just literally just cast that to a byte because I know it's not going to go over the side of a byte. Yeah. Save that and see if that should fix up the main. Yeah, that's it. That looks nice and clean now. So I'm not having to do a cast inside the main. It's hidden away nicely in the API itself. So I don't want that to be sort of messy code up there. Well, it's private things, so that's fine with. Let's see. So we've got that. That seems like it should be okay. There's a couple of things I could add, but like I said, for now, we've got this thing. I'm going to add a mouse X and Y to this as well. We've got an X and Y existing, like player X and player Y. Let's do a int MX and an int MY or something, mouse X and mouse Y. They can be private. We don't need to really go outside of anything for that. Realistically, the other stuff can be private as well. So that texture is not really used anywhere else. And the player and stuff are pretty much can be private as well. There's no. Again, this isn't going to make that much difference for what we're doing specifically. I mean, it's a lot of just test code. But it's just nice and clean. Right. So now we've got this MX and MY existing. So what we can do is every time we update, instead of just checking for keyboard, we could also say, let's say MX is equal to mouse dot get X. Same thing with the MY. MY is equal to mouse dot get Y. So now we've always got this MX and MY available to us, so we can do all sorts of things or whatever. For now, I'm just going to leave it as is. I mean, we could do a mad one and render the texture at the MX and MY coordinates. Just for a laugh. So we can literally make a copy of this and render another copy of the texture at the MX and MY. Let's see what happens then. It might be mine because I'm using it twice, but let's just see. Be quite a bit of fun. What's this moan about now? Constant field MX. Did I not make? Did I not have a field MX? Maybe not this MX, just MX then. You happy now? I think it's happy now. Good. Okay, so now we're passing on that MX and MY's type thing. So I'm hoping that theoretically works because we're just doing it statically, I suppose. Oh dear. Right, so in theory, let's see what happens. See if we get any errors. Let's run this. Cool. So look, when I'm moving my mouse, it's rendering with the mouse. It's following my mouse around. How mad's that? And we can still move the other one with the keys. Notice how it's rendering afterwards, I think. There we go. It's quite crazy, isn't it? So that's cool. So that works fine. So we've got mouse input and we've also got keyboard input, even working at exactly the same time. So I think we'll take a little tea break again. Actually, I'm going to pop to the shop. So hopefully this is an interesting video for you to watch, and I'll see you again later on.